Are you ready, Carla?
I just run the same.
Ready when you are.
My name is Carly Ray, and this is my special occasion speech. Every day, people stand by and watch the lives of others being lived without the full happiness and satisfaction we truly want and need. In fact, most people spend their time stressed out, worried, and constantly panicked about the future, along with choosing the right school or major, balancing everyday activities, family, boyfriends and girlfriends, and trying to find the right amount of hours to sleep at night. If any of this sounds familiar, it is because so many people live their life trying to be perfect and cramming too much into too little time. In all honesty, when can someone find that true, fully happy and carefree life? The only way you can live a happy and satisfied life is when you start doing things that make yourself happy and satisfied. Of course, it is easier said than done, but here's a quote I live by. Open your eyes and look within. Are you satisfied with the life you live? Today, stop and think about life, the life you live, and the importance of living day to day, because you never know when someone or something can be taken away from you. Many people have lost a loved one or someone they are close with. I am happy to say that I have not yet lost a close one. However, my grandmother is very ill, and knowing I could lose her any day is just as hard. Losing a loved one in your life can always be upsetting, dramatic, or something that haunts you forever. I remember the night I was watching Grey's Anatomy with my mom, and in the middle of the show, my dad came home, and he looked extremely stressed out, exhausted, and like he had a rough day. Right away, I knew something was wrong. He sat down and began to tell my mom and I how my grandmother's lung cancer had come back, along with pneumonia and bronchitis. I remember feeling overwhelmed and terrible for my dad. That was 2 years ago, and to this day, my grandmother gets worse and worse every day. After praying to God for months, I slowly gave up hope and wondered why my family was put in this situation, a situation no one knew how to handle. To me, it is extremely difficult to see my grandmother. She just lays there in her bed, not knowing who she is, not knowing where she is, not knowing who we are, and constantly being confused on a day-to-day basis. The hospital talks about pulling the plug, that they have done all they can, but she can't lie there forever, and people need her room. The few words my grandmother managed to utter were the words approving to be taken off life support, but my grandpa was so in love with her, he could not do it. In the notebook, Nicholas Spark states, "The reason it hurts so much to separate is because our souls are connected," and this reminds me of my grandparents. How many people do you know would sleep in a hospital chair 7 days a week? Not many. Meanwhile, I thought my dad had enough on his plate and had enough stress on his shoulders, but surprisingly, his dad took a turn for the worst. February 16th, 2010, my grandfather woke up lightheaded and not feeling well. Of course, he thought nothing of it because he did not get much sleep from sleeping in a chair all night and from my grandmother's night spasms, so he just went about his morning. But after drinking his morning coffee and reading the morning paper, he had a heart attack. Turns out because of all his worry and fear of what might happen to my grandmother, his blood pressure was off the charts. I know I sort of went on a tangent about my grandparents and what went on in their life, but if you were to ask my grandpa if he regrets not taking my grandmother off life support, he would say no. I can only learn from my mistakes. And that's how I learned from my grandfather's actions. Even though my grandmother said she did not want to cause him pain anymore, he needed to let her go, he disagreed. He said he would be happy as long as they were together as long as possible. So it is not selfish to make you yourself your first priority. It is actually a good idea in order to succeed and get past all the stressful and unhappy events in life. Without a happy and satisfied you, there is no happy and satisfied life. An anonymous writer once wrote, "One day your life will flash before your eyes. Make sure it's worth watching. By doing so, ask yourself, are you satisfied in life? And if you are not, then stop trying to make others happy and make yourself happy."